All right, we got Dynasty buy low trade target wide receivers.
Get them now.
Today, we're going to bring two each, players that we think, for whatever reason, their value might have dropped, but we still believe in them. We still think there are better things ahead for them. So I'll go first. I have Juju Smith-Schuster. Okay.
TikTok king.
I'm going to use, TikTok king. Let's talk about when he was drafted in 2017. Okay. Had a great year. And then in 2018, according to crowdsourcing, Keep Trade Cut, different websites, everyone pretty much had him ranked as a top 3 Dynasty wide receiver.
Right.
Okay. Rookie year broke out. And then May 7th, if we look even at 2020, which is about almost 2 years ago, he was still the wide receiver 8 in Dynasty. So this guy, Juju, has been a very highly ranked Dynasty asset for a while. If you look at today, he is now the wide receiver 37 in Dynasty. He was as low as the wide receiver 51 at different points throughout the last season. Okay.
Sheesh.
So what happened between 2017 and 2020, 21? Well, let's look at the injuries. Okay. Number one, to himself. He had, a little bit of injuries here and there, but then in 2021 had that season-ending shoulder surgery. And then I also think what contributed to him dropping in rankings is the play of Big Ben, as well as Big Ben's injury himself. Okay, in 2019, Big Ben only played 2 games. This was supposed to be the year where Juju solidified himself as an alpha wide receiver in the NFL, right? AB was gone. It was about to be Juju season, and then Big Ben misses most of the year, only plays 2 games. And it's a combination of Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph that entire year. Okay. Also in that time period, we see the emergence of Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. So when considering the context of it all, I think it's reasonable to say there's still good value here in Juju. So let me tell you a couple of reasons why I believe in him, why I think there's still value left. Number one, proven production. It's easier to understand that Juju can be a top 20 wide receiver when I can point to multiple seasons where he's already done it. Okay. If I sit here right now and tell you, hey, Juju could finish as a top 20 wide receiver. Well, it's easier for me to justify that when I've already seen it happen multiple times. Okay.
Right. Okay.
In 2017, it was his rookie year, finished wide receiver 23. In 2018 was his highest finish as wide receiver 8, 111 receptions, over 1,400 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Right.
He was number 1 in the yak that year. Okay. He was the yak king in 2018, ran the most routes out of any wide receiver. And then in 2020, we see him finish as a top 16 wide receiver, despite sharing the spotlight with Deontay and Chase Claypool, right? So then he has that injury in 2021. But look, he's still a young asset. Okay. He's been in the NFL since 2017. He feels very old. It feels like Juju's been around for so long. But when you think about it, he's only 25 years old and his birthday is in November. So he's going to be 25 for quite a while still. And the last thing I'll say is his situation's changing. And that's what we're looking for here with a buy low candidate. Is the situation going to improve? And he enters free agency as a top 5 to 7 wide receiver available. He could sign a 1-year deal with a competitor. He could sign a 3-year deal with a competitor. I've talked about him landing in New England. I think he would instantly be the number 1 wide receiver on that team. Right. How about last year when he almost landed in Kansas City? Where would we rank Juju in Dynasty, considering he's 25 years old, if he was on one of those teams? If he was more necessary to the offense,
right,
or if he was on a more high-powered offense? So for me, I still think that there is a lot of good football left for Juju. And if I'm going to tell you what you should pay for him, look, I'd be willing to part with a mid to late 2nd round pick in 2022.
Okay.
It's not very likely that you hit on that pick anyway. I also prefer Juju over the following wide receivers: OBJ, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Allen Robinson. I know people won't like that one. And then also Michael Thomas. People won't like that one either. But this is a young player who's proven it. Situation got a little messy, different quarterback emergence of other wide receivers. Right. But I still think he can be a 100 catch in a year type player. So I would like to buy Juju. I've already bought Juju in multiple leagues for quite cheap. So who's your first buy low player though?
My first buy low player.
Wide receiver.
My first buy low wide receiver is Hollywood Brown. And this is a guy that I think you can go and get right now. He finished wide receiver 22 in 2021. Let's look back at 2021, okay? Weeks 1 to 9, Hollywood Brown was wide receiver 6. who remembers him going off and nobody was expecting this. You know, he did have that in between game when he dropped like 5 touchdowns with Lamar against Detroit. Even then, I think like they were on a rhythm. They were doing some great things then. And then we saw the massive drop off. Weeks 10 to 18, he was wide receiver 17. Why? Because Lamar got hurt. The guy missed 5 games and their connection was growing and growing and growing. And they couldn't stop him. They really couldn't stop Lamar and Hollywood Brown. They were going off. Let's look back at what Hollywood was actually did before 2019. That's when he came into the league, wide receiver 46. 2020, the year before, wide receiver 36. So this was a massive jump, finishing wide receiver 22 this year, not even playing the full season with Lamar Jackson. Okay, and 2021 was different. Let's not forget that all offseason coming into this past year, they were saying, we're going to open up the playbook. We're going to focus a little bit more on passing. We're going to give these wide receivers an opportunity, and we saw that. Why? Because they drafted Rashad Bateman in the first. They said, you know what, we need some weapons, and we're going to open up the playbook, and we're going to start passing the ball more, which they did. And another thing for me that I'm factoring into this when I'm thinking about Hollywood Brown is that they need to protect Lamar Jackson. Even though Lamar Jackson is explosive with his legs, I'm not saying that he's going to stop running. I'm going to say that they want to limit that run as much as possible because essentially they missed the playoffs this past year.
Keep developing as a player. They want him to develop in those areas.
100%.
Don't be so reliant on one aspect of the game.
And they essentially missed the playoffs because Lamar missed the last 5 games, 5 crucial games in the season.
They were number 1 in the AFC, I think week 7 or 8.
And they lost. So I still believe in this Ravens team. I believe in Lamar Jackson. I believe in Hollywood Brown. I believe in this playbook to continue to open up in the years to come. So if I were you, I'm going out and getting Hollywood Brown. I'm looking at maybe maybe late first round. I think you can get him for right now. Maybe if you want, you can get some pieces. Kind of like what Zach said, some guys I would be trading probably in a package due to age and situation. A D-Hop, a Hunter Renfrow, a Mike Evans, a Tyler Lockett. Once again, in a package deal due to age. Maybe you're trying to transition to a more win-now team, a young team. I'm going to get Hollywood Brown right now if I possibly can.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I'm all aboard the Hollywood Brown train, only 24 years old as well. I don't know if you said that, but still 24. It feels like he's older. Rashad's 22. It's not like there's a massive difference in between their ages. And some people are valuing Rashad over him, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I like the pick. I just want to throw a quick shout out to everyone who supports us over on Patreon. Okay, whether you're in a league, you just want the extra content, you want the rookie profiles, you want the unlimited advice. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for supporting the show. Now back to the content. All right, my last wide receiver, and I didn't know this, but we bring our takes separately. Badake said, I already brought this as a buy low, so I guess I'm double downing.
Gotta go
is that
for
a word? I don't know. Devonta Smith, wide receiver for the Eagles. It's difficult to really call this a true buy low. However, it's pretty disappointing year if you were in rookie drafts last year and you bet on Devonta Smith over guys like Chase or Jalen Waddle. Like that was a conversation. Yeah, it was like Devonta Smith, Chase, Jalen Waddle. And if you chose Devonta Smith, you're probably a little bit disappointed this offseason, okay? His value, Devonta's value has been all over the place since being drafted. As soon as he was drafted, he was ranked as high as wide receiver 10 for people. And then since then, he's been as low as wide receiver 28. So it's been very volatile in only one season. And based off of his 2021 season and his current situation, I do believe there is a window that has opened that you can take advantage of, okay? And look, I think the volatility in his ranking is very closely linked to Jalen Hurts. Wow. The Dynasty community as a whole is very split.
100%.
He's not that guy. He is the guy. And I think you can see that in the way that people rank Devonta Smith. It's very, very understandable. I still believe in him though, okay? Why did he struggle in 2021? Let's talk about that. Opportunities is massive in fantasy football. We all know that. The Eagles, no one threw the ball less than the Eagles in 2021. Okay, so there was not as many opportunities that you would like to see for Devonta Smith.
Yeah.
He was 33rd in targets in the NFL. Compare that to, again, I'm going to keep looking at Chase and Waddle. Chase, 17th in targets. Waddle, 10th in targets. Okay. I imagine, quite often when I'm watching the Bengals play and with Joey B or Tua with Waddle, I think to myself, what would Devonta Smith look like in that offense? What would his year have looked like?
Yeah, it would have been crazy.
And
surely.
it's interesting to think about because these are teams that threw the ball much more often because they had quarterbacks that they trusted with the ball in their hand. But there is reason still to be optimistic, okay? He was 24th in the NFL in target separation, okay? Average yards of separation from the defender at the time of the throw, despite being the only wide receiver that a defense really needed to focus on in this offense. So he was still able to gain separation despite facing the best cornerback each week. He was also 16th in yards per route run in the NFL. Let's not forget what Devonta Smith did in college, okay?
Oh, my goodness.
He had a dominator rating of over 51%. That is stupid.
That's
good.
nasty.
And who was connected to him? Not a superstar quarterback, just someone who's reliable,
Brother
who
Mac.
can get him the ball. Mac Attack Jones, I was going to say.
Mac
So, and the last thing I'll say is, look, I always say this, I preach this, but you bet on talent over situation, okay? Situations can change. The intangibles do not. So I don't believe personally that Jalen Hurts is a long-term plan. You know, we have said this time and time again. Badake does. I don't. Like, there's a difference of opinion. That's okay. We have a video on him on our channel. I might try and link it here if I remember in the editing process. But I don't believe Jalen Hurts is the long-term answer, okay?
Right.
I think that they would flip him in a heartbeat if they could find a more reliable quarterback that they believe in long-term. I don't think it's a coincidence that there's been so many rumors in the past, however long Jalen Hurts has been the starter. So for me, I'm betting on the long-term value of Devonta Smith. I believe in the talent. I believe that he can produce in the NFL. So I am willing, if we're talking about a price that I'm willing to pay, I'm willing to give up the 107 and up in this year's rookie drafts. And I think you might be able to even get him cheaper. But if I look at this class, this is actually a very good wide receiver class. I don't think we should underrate it as a wide receiver class. But I still think Devonta Smith would be ranked anywhere from wide receiver 1 to 4. Like, he still would be in that category. So I'd be happy to give a mid first in this year's draft for Devonta Smith. And let me give you a couple wide receivers that I prefer these wide receivers, or I prefer Devonta Smith over the following wide receivers.
Right.
Mike Evans, Hunter Renfrow, Brandon Ayuk, Rashad Bateman, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, Kadarius Toney, Mike Williams, Tyler Lockett. So hopefully just giving you some ideas of trades that you might be able to pursue, whether that is in packages or whatever it might look like. But I do believe in Devonta Smith, and I'm hopeful for his future.
Yeah, I love the pick. Obviously, you know, we probably did this twice, but yeah, great guy. Big things for Devonta Smith. And my last player, before I actually tell you who he is, I would just like to say, in my opinion, I think this is a risk. Some people may not think it's a risk, but I'm hoping if you
it's buy low, but the risk is there.
Yeah, buy low, but the risk is there. So, in my opinion, I think you can get this guy for probably an early second, late first, potentially, depending on how the other person values him. And this is also based on who's going to be his quarterback in 2022. And that's also a Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver, Chase Claypool. So we have two Steelers here, and Juju and Claypool. So for me, it is Chase Claypool. Why? I mean, let's remember why they drafted Chase Claypool. He was a big contested catch wide receiver that could run the straight fast and get the ball. But who was his quarterback throwing it to him? It was Big Ben. He didn't have the arm. He didn't have the arm strength, the ability to get it to Chase Claypool down the field, or could even contest the catch. So what I did was I looked at what Claypool did in college, okay? His last year at Notre Dame in 2019, 66 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 13 touchdowns. If you look back in the past 2 years he's been with the Steelers, he didn't surpass any of those stats categories. So he didn't surpass more receptions. He didn't surpass more yards or more touchdowns. Once again, why? Because
despite playing in more games as well.
Yeah, and because of Big Ben. Big Ben couldn't do it. So no matter what's going to happen, I think Chase Claypool is going to skyrocket unless they really drop the ball. And then
he'll definitely be more valuable. I agree.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. Malik Willis and Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, and Aaron Rodgers.
Can't get worse.
It cannot get worse here. So why not go and get Chase Claypool? Because I believe in the talent. I believe what he can do with the team. I believe in the Steelers to get an elite quarterback because historically they always had that. Okay, so get Chase Claypool right now. My price, kind of like the same guys as Zach was saying about Devonta Smith. I'm taking more of a chance on Chase Claypool. Once high risk, once again, sometimes age and situation all depend on the trade value. Mike Evans, Hunter Renfrow. Maybe I would personally have a Chase Claypool over Brandon Ayuk, Tyler Lockett. I'm thinking of those guys that I would be getting over, or I would be trying to trade away to get a Chase Claypool. These guys are a little bit more solidified. Their role. Maybe you throw in a pick, a low-end second, a low-end third, whatever the case may be, to acquire Chase Claypool. I like his value here, and I think he could be a guy that is a top 15, top 20 wide receiver out of nowhere because the quarterback could project him to get there.
Yeah. By the way, just one final thing on Big Ben. Last year, lowest rated quarterback. Also, the lowest yards per air attempt. Okay.
My guy.
That just does not line up with Claypool's skill set. All right. Those are our buy low wide receivers. We're starting to do positional rankings. Let us know if you like any of these, or there's going to be some haters. Let us know if you hate what we said.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos,
watch it.
You can also subscribe
right now
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.